So
Let's
we're going to have a
go.
little game. Player
I'm
A,
gonna nail it.
player
I'm
B.
gonna nail it.
So I have 8 players in front of me. Okay. And we're going to do this tournament style. Okay. Now that might be a little unfair to what it kind of ends up being, but I'm going to go tournament style. I'm going to pick the guy at the top of my list, guy at the bottom of my list, just who ended up on the slides of that Instagram post. Shout out NFL Historic. So player A is a 1-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl winner, and he is in the Hall of Fame for all 2000s team. He's played in 173 games, 920 receptions, 13,382 yards, 74 touchdowns, and a 59% catch percentage. Player B is a 3-time All-Pro, only 112 games, 595 receptions, 8,134 yards, 65 touchdowns, and a 61.6 catch percentage. Player A, player B.
Who's in the Hall of Fame?
Who should be in the Hall of Fame out of those two guys?
I'd say player A. I'm guessing I'm wrong.
So I'm gonna leave that.
Oh, you're gonna keep me in suspense.
I'm gonna keep that right there.
Okay.
So we're going player A on the first one. Okay. So next one, player A is a 2-time All-Pro. Played in 166 games, 766 receptions, 11,059 yards, 67 touchdowns, and a 55.8 catch percentage. Player B is a 3-time All-Pro, 146 games, 670 receptions, 9,174 yards, 62 touchdowns, and a 57.9 catch percentage. Player A, player B.
A.
Okay. There we go. So we got another player A. All right. Now, player A is 1-time All-Pro, has 1 Super Bowl, 211 games, 1,070 receptions, 14,345 yards, 82 touchdowns, and a 62.4 catch percentage. Player B has 2 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP, 217 games, 1,000 receptions on the dot, 12,083 yards, 85 touchdowns, and 64.2 catch percentage. Same exact catch percentage. So this one's a tough one because this one's the toughest one so far. Very, very close. If you need me to repeat any of the other stuff, like the stats or anything, because they were close, let me know.
I think that player A stats gets him into the Hall of Fame. Player B stats are very close to player A's stats, and he has a Super Bowl MVP. I'm going with player B should be a Hall of Famer. I'd like to go back to the past 5 years back and look at who's won the Super Bowl MVPs and say who's not in the Hall of Fame. I imagine that's pretty small.
And then last player A, player B. Player A is a 2-time All-Pro, 193 games, 1,062 receptions, 14,185 yards, 70 touchdowns, and a 61.1 catch percentage. Player B is a 2-time All-Pro as well. He won 2005 Comeback Player of the Year, 219 games, 1,031 games, 1,031 receptions, 14,731 yards, 81 touchdowns, and a 59% catch percentage.
I'm going to go with player A. But I think I would have picked player B if you hadn't told me that he'd won Comeback Player of the Year, because I feel like that means that he fell off a little bit or he had a really bad injury.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you picked the 4, and I want to narrow it down to two guys. Okay, so I'm going to read these guys out one more time, and I'll tell you who you left off completely. Okay, so we're going to take the first player A and the second player A. So player A has 1 All-Pro, 1 Super Bowl, Hall of Famer of the All 2000s team, 173 games, 920 receptions, 13,382 yards, 74 touchdowns, and a 59% catch percentage. The last player A was a 2-time All-Pro, 193 games, 1,602 receptions, 14,185 yards, 70 touchdowns, and a 61.1% catch percentage.
The second one.
So this player is going to the Hall of Fame. And we have, let's see, this was this player A, and this was player B. Okay, so player A is a 2-time All-Pro, 166 games, 766 receptions, 11,059 yards, 67 touchdowns, 55.8% catch percentage. And then player B was the 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Super Bowl MVP, 1,000 receptions, 12,000 yards, 85 touchdowns, 64.4 catch percentage. Okay. So you just inducted Andre Johnson and Hines Ward.
Oof.
And you left out Torrey Holt, Chad Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Steve Smith, Herman Moore, and Sterling Sharp.
I did okay.
It's not bad. I think the only one that's egregious is so the final 4 players that you got down to was Torrey Holt. Let's see, it was Torrey Holt. It was Chad Johnson. It was Hines Ward. And it was Andre Johnson. Those were the final 4 that you got down to. So Sterling Sharp was the one with the low numbers, was the low player B numbers. Herman Moore was the second player B with 670 games, 9,000 yards, 62 touchdowns. Steve Smith was the comeback player of the year.
That makes sense.
I think the only 2 misses there is Reggie Wayne being left out of the top 4. And then just Torrey Holt being left out. That's the only thing. But I'm not mad.
You don't think Chad Johnson is a Hall of Famer?
Out of this group, I'm taking most of these guys over Chad Johnson.
Okay.
Most of them.
It's an interesting. When you said who I had put in the Hall of Fame, I was like, I don't know about that. But then you read off the rest of the names. I was like, I did all right. Like Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
he threw hands at Cortland Finnegan. That was a great moment for us. I love that.
Yep.
Matt Schaub.
Right.
He did all that with Matt Schaub.
So let's shift gears and let's talk about the 3 topics that we have for the NBA.
Can I make one more Hall of Fame point? You're going to disagree with? Can we get my man Patrick Willis in, please?
I don't know about all that. I think that's a good conversation for another time.
He's not one of the greatest linebackers of all time, you don't think? Don't tell me about he didn't play long enough.
Short
I'm
careers.
just saying.
I mean, it's really difficult because I think that because of I didn't watch a lot of the Niners and in general a lot of football when Patrick Willis was prime. But I was able to see, weirdly enough, I saw a lot of Megatron. Talk about 2 guys with short careers and had really, really, really high highs. I think Megatron at his very, very peak we're talking about a guy who's top 5 all time. I think with the level of how good linebackers have been in the past, I don't know if I can put Patrick Willis top 5 at his prime. I'd have to look back. I have a couple of guys off the top of my head who are monsters at the linebacker position. He's probably somewhere between 6 to 10. So probably my immediate reaction is no. But if I sit down and look at the numbers and crunch everything and look at the reality of it, maybe.
It's so hard. It's so hard for linebackers to make it.
Yeah.
And I view it from a looking at the here and now thing. If Patrick Willis can't get in the Hall of Fame, then Fred Warner sure can't. in my opinion. So I don't know if you ever go on to.
You know what? Okay, here. Let me say this. Let me say this real quick. I would put him in only because of what you just said about the here and now, and I'd put him in because I'd put Luke Kuechly in.
Do you mess around with Pro Football Reference at all?
Yeah, that's where I grabbed all the information.
They have
the compare thing.
Well, they have a Hall of Fame monitor, and they kind of they kind of rank these players on if they're Hall of Fame worthy or not. And I really like using it because like arguing Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. But you have to have a 108.77 inside linebacker score to make the Hall as an inside linebacker. Patrick Willis is 110.60. He's the 7th best inside linebacker of all time, according to Pro Football Reference. And what did you say you thought he was? 6 to 13? So you're right there.